So here we go. Ready, everybody? Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of Behind the Seams, when we sit here and we have a little bit of a gossip with Aleister Mcdonald and Samantha Hamilton about this week's episode of The Sewing Bee. So a couple of things. First of all, thank you very much for joining us again. You'll be watching us on Facebook and YouTube, and we've had a couple of competitions. So I've just got some announcements to make before we get started. So we had a competition for week 2 to win a £100 voucher to spend at Create and Craft on YouTube. And the winner from that particular episode was Sue Thomas. So congratulations, Sue. Somebody will be in touch to tell you how you can claim your prize. So, there you go, Sue. Last week we had a little bit of fun where we asked you to count how many times we said sewing in the episode of Behind the Seams, and the correct answer was 20. So some people got it right, and the Facebook winner was Jeanette Felton. So congratulations, Jeanette. Unfortunately, nobody answered correctly on YouTube, so we only have one winner this week. We also have another little competition, no prizes this time, but we've got a little competition for you. So tell us in the comments which of the 4 options I'm just about to go through are not sewing terms. So we have number 1, feed dogs. We have number 2, frogging. Number 3, nap. And number 4, kintsugi, which I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I'll give it a go anyway. So just give us a little comment and tell us which one you think isn't a sewing term. So anyway, let's get on with the episode of Behind the Scenes. First of all, I'd like to introduce Aleister Mcdonald. So hello, Alistair, how are you?
Hello. I'm very well. I've got a very special guest today. Esme's joined us. And she is on the same size seat as me, isn't it, Esme? Yeah. But literally, she's not very tall, so bless her. But we'll try and sort it out next week. We'll try and get her a higher chair. Okay.
I'm sure she's got plenty to add. So, and then we've got Samantha Hamilton as well. Hello, Samantha. How are you?
Hi, I'm really well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So I'm Sarah Payne. I'm a regular sewing demonstrator on Create and Craft. Alistair is owner and designer for House of Alistair, and Samantha Hamilton brings us the Just Bold fabrics on the channel. So lots of sewing experience on your screen right now. And we're going to go through and just give our personal thoughts about yesterday's episode. So the show airs every Wednesday on the BBC at 9 o'clock on BBC One, and it was International Week. So we basically had the Breton top was the pattern challenge. We had a sarong into a woman's garment for the transformation challenge. And then we had a Frida Kahlo inspired outfit for the fitting challenge at the end. So first of all, we've obviously got our favourites, which we will be telling you about. And we will be, spoiler alert, talking about Garment of the Week and who went home. But first of all, let's have a quick chat about the first challenge, the Breton top, which was the pattern challenge for this week. And Alistair, what did you think about the contestants' attempt at the Breton top?
Well, I say it again, I wish the technical challenge, they just gave everybody 1.5 meters of fabric on their bench. Everybody has the same stripe. Everyone has the same what have you, because it's a bit of a myth that if you choose a larger stripe or something else that's slightly different, that's going to be easier to actually match. It's not necessarily. You have to be far more precise. But talking about the pattern just itself, that sort of commercial pattern, the way that they were doing the placket, where it was a separate piece. Now, in the industry, we would, a technical term is we would grow it on. So we would grow that placket onto the actual shoulder itself, which just means that that pattern piece, we would sellotape, if you like, onto that piece, and then we would create the placket, and then we would fold it under. Now, the reason for that is when you're doing that little piece that they had at the top, because you had then, when you added it onto the seam allowance of the actual top itself, you've got 3 seams there, so that adds bulk and it creates height. So I felt that was a little bit too thick in terms of what have you. But I thought it was a very very straightforward challenge. Well, it should have been. But it was just, I don't know, everyone was just sort of kind of rushing around. And one big thing that I just don't like to see is when you're dressmaking, stop using rotary cutters. I don't know where this sudden trend comes from using rotary cutters, because if you're applying pressure with, say, a quilting ruler, you're applying the pressure on the fabric, so you're keeping it really nice and tight. But when you've got a pattern piece and you're just putting in weights, when you've got a rotary cutter, you're applying so much pressure onto the fabric, and you're going to distort, especially when you're cutting something that needs to be matched. That should be a complete and utter no. And when you're cutting on the double, you need a pin, you need something to keep the layers together and to check that the underneath is actually matching, or cut them out all separately.
Nobody actually uses scissors, do they?
No, which is a bit concerning.
I don't use scissors. I use a rotary cutter for mine, because controversial, but I'm a quilter, so I'm pretty good with a rotary cutter.
Yes,
but I do pin before I use my rotary cutter, so I pin my pattern pieces quite carefully. And I find if I use scissors, I'm often lifting up the pattern piece. With the scissors, but I'm also
I suppose quilting is so different, isn't it, from dressmaking and tailoring. So in the industry, you're taught to use scissors. I mean, when I went to university to do fashion design and pattern cutting, I don't think I wouldn't even know what a rotary cutter was in them days. You know,
as I said, I'm controversial there, but I don't mind. Well, we have had a couple of people ask us if we could provide pictures of the project. So I printed that out. There you go. Those are the Breton tops. Now, if you're regular viewers of Create and Craft, you might recognise a couple of those fabrics, which I thought was quite sweet, because this one here, which is Adina's, so the black with the multicoloured stripe, and Adams as well, are stretch fabrics that we've had on the channel, which were designed for Craft Cotton Company by Tilly and the Buttons, who's actually in the first series of the Great British Sewing Bee. So when I saw those, I thought that's quite a nice hark back to the sort of history of the show, that you've got somebody who's in the first series designing the fabric that's used in season 7. One of the things that I did think was, and I thought this all the way through, there are certain skills that if I was going to be doing that show, if I was going to be a contestant, there would be certain skills that I would practice and practice and practice. I would practice every type of zip known to man, so that when they give me a zip, I know exactly what I'm doing. Working with stretch fabric, those necklines, I think the only person who got a decent, halfway decent was actually Serena.
So would they know that they're doing that a week in advance?
But the thing is, at some point you're going to be sewing with stretch fabric, and you know that at some point you're going to be doing a pocket, and you know you're going to have to do lining, and you know you're going to have to do buttons. So personally, I would practice those with lots of. You don't need to keep making tops, but I would expect to at some point have to put facing in a neckline. So I would practice that so that it becomes second nature. I would practice all those individual skills just on scraps. What sort of needle do I need for stretch fabric? That kind of thing. How do you manage? Because nobody managed to get, apart from Serena, who had an okay neckline, the rest of them all managed to stretch the fabric when they were doing
that. we had Catherine who snagged on the overlocker. We had Adam with the fake buttons. We had who was it? Oh gosh, Serena she did quite a good job, didn't she? But they were all struggling with the neckline and the placket. So every one of them.
Well. I mean, and we had, I wrote down here, Rafe and Damien decided not to do the placket horizontally, even though they were specifically told to. And you just go, because if you're told that that's what you're going to be judging on, and you're going to be judged on 3 buttons, then you don't go, oh, like Adam did, and put 2 on and then sew a fake one on.
Oh gosh, yeah. And that was quite interesting how Esme figured it out. She was pulling away. I thought it was really funny. Pulling away to discover something else underneath.
Yeah, because Adam knew he put the placket on the wrong side. He put the placket on back to front. Didn't undo it. I would immediately have undone it and just gone, you know what, because that's one thing. But it's hard to tell from the judges whether it's a bigger sort of faux pas to make a mistake or not to finish. What they consider worse. Is it to do it well but not finish, or is it to ham-fist it but still get everything sewn together even if it's wrong?
They're mentally, I mean, sewing is supposed to be mindful and wonderful. They use the word mindfulness now, and I don't see any mindfulness going on in this competition. Do you?
No, I think it's too stressful to be mindful. As we know, when we do it on the TV, and we're used to that. I've been doing sewing on the telly now for 8 years. I'm used to all sorts of things, but every now and again, you still, even though you know what you're doing, you lose concentration, and like Catherine did, accidentally chop something up with your overlocker, or you sew something on upside down. I mean, I've done a bag. I was doing a bag about 2 years ago that I was talking to the presenter, and I sewed it together completely wrong. So when I went to turn it inside out, I just got this big pile. And that moment, there's that bunny in the headlights where you just go. So I did manage to salvage it, but it took me a good few seconds to work out what I'd done, that I'd actually sewn it together.
What you're actually saying is, Sarah, that you're human.
Yeah.
Well, just like all of us, because that's happened to me before. I actually forgot to put the actual webbing bag handles into the bag that that I was making, because I was so busy chatting away about this, that, and the other. I think one point you made, Sarah, about the neckline. One thing that's really important with that, whenever you're using a stay tape, now that stay tape would have been, knowing the sewing bee, that would have been, it doesn't matter whether it was 100% cotton or whether it was a polymix webbing tape. Now, when you first sew that into the neckline, what you can do, now the technical term is called serge. And what you do is you're serging the ribbon. So what that means is when you apply heat, you can actually bend, you can actually shape the actual ribbon. So we do it with hats. So for instance, if you've got a fedora hat and you're changing the ribbon around it, you're putting a straight ribbon onto a curved but a tilted surface. What you need to do is you need to shrink in and make it around. Now, when you apply steam and pressure with an iron, you can get that. So what they should have done is they should have properly pressed the tape, not the garment, but the tape that was attached. And then that would have given them the curve, put it on the dummy and see whether or not the neckline actually was nice and flat, and then sew that tape into place.
Well, let me just say something, Alistair. You've given me a life lesson there, because I didn't know that. And
I didn't know that either.
They didn't know that. So if they don't know it, it's a case of that mindfulness sewing, taking your time. So you've taught us something there, Alistair, but I've never made a Breton top before. So
no. What we know was Serena with this lovely one here, which I liked all of them, to be honest. I mean, they did work particularly well, apart from the necklines. I think it was the necklines that let everybody down. So now let's go on to the second challenge of International Week, which was a sarong, which I have to say, it makes quite a dog's dinner of it. And a lot, considering what they've got is a nice big square of fabric, which is basically what you buy when you go to the shops to get yourself some fabric. You know, they didn't have to cut anything up, take out pockets or anything like that. So Samantha, what were your thoughts on the transformation challenge?
Oh my goodness. Well, Andrew's collar, was it a collar? He did a shirt, didn't he?
He did. I like that.
I've done a shirt. Let me tell you, collars are bloody, come on, Alistair, they're horrible to do. It's such a challenge there. And then we had, what's her name? Begins with an A. Adina. She forgot to put sleeves in or something. Whole sleeves, yeah.
Yeah, they had a couple with the armholes coming out the waist.
Oh my goodness me. They just all seem to be panicking. They're just panicking away, and they're just not getting their brain to work their hands.
It was like Farry just grabbed she was saying, I haven't got enough fabric. It was like, well, why did you pick that sarong then? They just leap in and grab things, and if they just paused to think for a second, if everybody paused for a moment and looked at what was on the rack, everybody would get what they want, but they don't. They're kind of encouraged to rush in and just grab anything.
Maybe, Sarah, they just like the drama of it all and things going wrong. You know,
it is telly. Alistair, what did you think about what was your high points and low points of the transformation?
So there's one clear standout for me, which was Adam. And the reason for that is Adam actually took a very fine cloth, and what he did is he put his brain into gear straight away. And what he did was he looked at the dummy and he thought, right, okay, let's just see where, if I just pin it and drape it and see where it goes and nip it in here and do this, that and the other, let's just see how where we get to. And I thought, as soon as I saw it, I thought, God, that's actually really interesting. I hope it turns out well. And then he used the other accents of detail. Now, I must admit, when I saw him put that other bold sarong onto the back, I thought the plain solid pink was so strong at the front. I thought, ooh, I wasn't quite sure about that. And also the pom-pom trim that was on it. But he used what he had. The other interesting thing I found about that particular challenge was the fact that, sorry, I'm just referring to my notes as well, was the fact that the judges said you can pick up to any 2 sarongs. That didn't mean that you had to use the 2 sarongs. However, I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Farry, who used that beautiful turquoise with that bold floral print that going in the back, and she pleated it. It was a children's sort of overpiece. And she got critiqued for not using 2. And I'm thinking, but that wasn't the brief. You set it, you should know. And it just wasn't. But there was some real, for instance, one of the sort of people that were picked to sort of, you know, have a real, well, 2 people, for instance, Sam's favourite, Raphael, and also Serena. Now, Serena just sort of, from last week where she actually won, which I really didn't like, that panelled over top thing. She did this sort of same thing again, and it was just like, I just feel as if sometimes with the creative challenges, I'm just wondering whether or not they've given their all already, and now we're starting to see who's got the mojo to continue and who doesn't. Because Rafe's, I like the drape on it. My God, those ties! It was so sloppy. It was just really, really. In my opinion, that he really let himself down this week, but he felt a little bit different as well. He didn't quite seem
to have the energy.
There was just something. But then some of the other contestants, Butchery comes to mind. It was just enough. I mean, for instance, scarf tops, they do a fantastic cowl drape. Why didn't anyone attempt just a simple cowl drape top?
Yeah. Well,
Easy.
you can ask Esme because you've got Esme there with you.
That's what I was thinking.
I have. But she has, but she's very quiet. I mean, she did, you know, we were in a bubble last night. Yeah. She did stay over, but, you know, God, can she drink? I tell you what, a fringe nearly went up when we lit the sambucas. I mean, it was just... Woof. But anyway, we will sort out this chair, won't we, Esme? Yes. But, yeah. But we did have a giggle. And she did tell me a few stories as well. But we'll have to... We'll save that for a few more episodes.
I don't know what. I can send you another carabiner for your next necklace. That's off my handbag. So we have to give credit for Esme's fabulous necklace. I think we all saw it last night with the carabiner and the sanitizer bottles filled with coloured ink. I thought that was genius. I suppose she could stand up wearing it. But what I wanted to say was, she wasn't with Damien's top, Damien's dress. This one, I really liked that, and she said, "Well, I would have liked it if the cowl or if the little cape was turquoise."
Turquoise.
If he had the turquoise in that, he probably would have used it. But you can't just wish something into their sort of fabric stash.
She seems to be giving her own opinions of what she would like. Yeah.
Yes, I'd like it in a different colour. Oh well, lovely.
Yeah.
You know, I did think that was a little harsh. But the winner of that was obviously Adam, and he did that cracking outfit there. Also, we had Andrew. No, hang on. We had Adam, then we had Rebecca. Rebecca was second and Andrew was third. Personally, I really loved Andrew's top. And I thought in 90 minutes to make something with buttons down the front and a collar. I know the collar wasn't perfect, but he had 90 minutes. Come on, guys. There's only so much you can do. But very good fun anyway. And
see, I think, sorry to interrupt you, Sarah, there. I think you're 100% right. I think Andrew didn't actually get enough credit for what he actually attempted within that time. A really simple fix for him, he could have done just literally just a round collar, forget actually putting a collar on, and just make that a lovely scooped neckline, or even, you know, a boat neck, and just put a little bit of a facing underneath, and then maybe he's just added another sort of like, because Esme likes a bow, so why not just put a great big bow on the top, on a boat neck top? I mean, I totally agree with you. I think he was marked down, and I'm surprised at the ranking he had as well in that challenge. Yeah, it seemed a little unfair that he didn't get quite the credit. And Catherine, she came second to last. But she'd started off doing trousers, and then suddenly it was like, oh, they weren't trousers anymore. And I thought, that's such a shame, because I think she possibly wouldn't have gone home if she'd done them as trousers. I know they would, you know, harem pants. I mean, she had the slits at the side. It was like she made the trouser legs and then gave up. And I didn't actually see why she changed her mind. I would have been interested. Did she have an issue? Did she not leave enough fabric for, you know, the hungry bum or anything like that Esme likes to refer to? I thought that was quite interesting. But let's go on now and have a look at the last challenge, which I have to say I am a huge Frida Kahlo fan, like I think most of the world, and I'm wearing my flower today, just in homage. But we had the awesome fit made to measure challenge that needed to be inspired by Frida Kahlo. So guys, let's start with Alistair. What was your favourite? Well, I did have a couple of favourites. In fact, actually, I want to call Patrick Grant out actually on his comment. I thought actually, now I've never mentioned Serena. I think it was Serena. Let me just get
that one.
Yeah, no.
Because I didn't talk about that as well. Yes.
Yeah, no. For instance, that was it was beautifully sewn. Now he made a remark about the fact that Now, he must have been slightly blind. That's personal taste. He didn't like the fact that there was yellow and there was cream, and then there was the big floral trousers. But in actual fact, Patrick Grant is menswear, and, you know, when you're critiquing women's wear, that was very clever in what she had done. She had taken accents of the colour from the actual trousers and then blocked the top, which is a very trendy and now sort of thing. And I thought the silhouette actually was really, really lovely. And I can see that's a lovely relaxed fit. It suits so many body types. It gives, whether or not you've got a natural waist or not, it gives you a waist. It chops you in the right pieces. They weren't sort of like, you know, majorly high-waisted or anything like that. So in actual fact, I thought his critique on that one, I thought, oh, I was a bit flat after that, because when I saw it come down, I thought, actually, that's really pretty.
I loved it.
Yeah. Plus also, they all seem to make a face mask for the model. So in actual fact, if he wanted to split feathers about whether or not there was any detailing at the top, well, she was wearing it over her mouth. So
the thing is, if you wear jeans, you've not got denim in your top as well. You know, if you're wearing a two-piece, they're supposed to work together rather than clash. But I agree with you totally, because I thought that the flowers have the yellow and the sort of cream in it, and I thought that for me was my favourite. Obviously,
well,
the winner.
For me,
right?
was it had to be Raphael in a way. Sorry, I loved all his colours. There was a lot of colours in his transformation. And then for Farah to win, to me, it was simple to do. And where's the colour?
Yeah,
where's the colour in that?
It's very clever what she did, but this is a made to measure. And there's no fit in that.
Exactly.
As long as you got the shoulders right.
Exactly.
Shoulders, beautiful.
Yeah, shoulders were great, but for myself, as you said, Serena was brilliant, but Raphael, the colours, look at his colours, look at what he had made. There was a lot of colour, there was a lot of expression there in his design. Can you just show that, Sarah? Do you have that?
I haven't got a print out.
Did you not?
That one.
Right, because it was the top, wasn't it? And then it was the bottom.
He had those lovely pleats in the shoulders that were then mirrored.
Did he put a pleat on the shoulders? He did, didn't he?
Big embroidery designs. Now I'm a big fan of machine embroidery on clothes, and I thought they were lovely, and I liked the way, as Patrick said, he mirrored the pleats on the shoulders with the pleats at the front of the trousers.
Can you remind me, was it Andrew that had made an absolute balls of what he was trying to do with all the embroidery?
Yes.
I mean, my goodness, what an abortion. That was terrible.
With his Huey P, with the machine embroidery. It's actually when you do straight stitches like that of decorative stitches from your sewing machine, it takes a lot longer to do than you think. But he had raw edges everywhere. Alistair, what did you think about Andrew and all the lining?
Well, funny enough, I have to be slightly a bit biased there, because that was a House of Alistair lining that he used on there. That's our burnt sienna, Jacquard Paisley.
There you go. It was lovely.
It was lovely. It did show up lovely on camera, I must say. Don't you agree, Esme? Yes, she did. But literally, I think there are several things that the Farah's that won, I thought, was when I saw that fabric, that metallic fabric, I thought, wow, we're in for a treat, because that fabric was stunning. And then I saw this tiny strip that went down the front, and I understand where it came from. But when you're doing something like that, do something really clever. Put a whole load of box pleats. If she had put a whole load of box pleats around that volume, and then as the model moved, all you did was get these little kicks and peaks at that beautiful, beautiful fabric. That would have been a less conventional way of just putting the strip. Now, I know, Esme, I know you like a bow, but you just need to get over it. You know, the bow is just not... If you strip the bow and that tie off the back, and all you had was the black outfit with the strip going down, compared to what everybody else produced, I wouldn't necessarily have thought that that would have been what have you. And also you've got to take into consideration, which I don't seem to think that they do week on week, is the first challenge, the second challenge, and then the final challenge.
Yeah.
It's a bit sort of like, and you know, this is a challenge.
Sorry, who do you think, Alistair, sorry for interrupting, who do you think should have won that challenge?
I actually think Serena. I 100% think Serena. There were a few different ones. Now, Rafe's, however, his trousers were really, really pretty, and that box pleat at the front, that was a really lovely silhouette. Now that doesn't suit all body types because you're adding extra volume around the hip area and also the waist area. So you've either got to cinch yourself before and then put those kind of trousers on. Or, for instance, if you're a slightly fuller figure, then, for instance, I would tuck a top into that rather than having a voluminous top on the top. I wasn't necessarily a fan of the open back of that top. I thought it was beautiful. Well, I thought it was beautiful, and I loved the sleeves, and I loved the applique that he had on the sides. But I just thought those trousers, because of the top, the beauty in those trousers and the beautiful execution on the waistband was just completely lost. You didn't see it to its full potential.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, I think we're agreed that we liked Serena and Rafe more than we did, or more, it fitted the brief more than Farry. But I do feel a little bit like at the moment challenges 1 and 2 don't mean anything anymore, because you can come last in those two, as Farry has this week and last week, you know, done really badly in the first challenge and then got garment of the week. So garment of the week and sewer of the week are not necessarily the same thing.
Can I just point something out, Sarah? Alistair, Sarah, what did you think of Damien's transformation, please? What was going on there? I felt like I was eating a Quality Street chocolate box.
What, this one?
It was orange and, what was it, orange and cream and or something.
Oh, no,
this is Damien's transformation.
You mean his final outfit with the boning and the thing?
Oh yes,
Please give me your opinion.
I didn't like the green.
I didn't like it at all.
I didn't like it.
I'm sorry.
No, I thought it was very dated. The colours weren't right. The green looked more like brown. Wrong. Yeah, definitely not.
He got extra points for using boning. Now, just a very, very quick tip with boning. Now, for instance, when I nearly fainted when I saw him do this, because I thought your boning's going to come up short, way short. When you're using boning, you either get a cut length that you know that you need. Don't sew it in and then cut it off. Don't pre-cut it unless you've actually measured accurately over the bust area. But that top, he did get points for the fact that the fit was there, but in actual fact, the fit of the bodice wasn't there.
No, it wasn't shaped around the bust, was it?
No.
It's an absolute mess.
It didn't add anything.
But have a word with Esme. You know, it was Esme who liked it.
Well, I can't tell you what she said last night, but that's for another program. But literally, you know, it wasn't my favourite. And the weights of the fabric as well. If you're going to do a tiered outfit like that, one little tip: if you're doing like bridal or something really, really heavy, what you need to do, the shoulder point is where all the weight rests. So what you can do is you can be quite clever in terms of you can create a slight, not an undergarment, but like literally put a line of tape underneath down the side seam here and also in here, and take the tape up to sit on the shoulder. What that does is it lifts all of the weight that's coming on the bottom, and what it does is it redistributes it, but you're carrying it on your shoulder, which you are anyway, but it stops the other fabrics from...
But he was strapless, wasn't he? So he didn't have that. It was all hanging from that, from the...
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, thanks for your contribution there, Alistair.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
I told you that last Sambuca wasn't a good idea. God.
Right, so this week we had Serena for the winner of the Breton top, we had Adam for the transformation, and we had Farry for the Frida Kahlo inspired garment. Now I'm really interested to see what and how your top 3 have changed. So last week I had Adam, Farry and Catherine. Obviously I was completely wrong on Catherine because unfortunately she went out. Alistair, you had Damien, Farry and Adam, and Sam, you had Serena, Raphael and Farry. So how are we feeling that has changed? Obviously I have to change mine because Catherine went out, and we'll talk about that very briefly in a moment. But Alistair, so you had Damien, Farry and Adam.
Mine has changed.
Okay.
So I have Serena, Farry and Adam.
Okay.
And the reason for it is there's something going on with Farry, and I don't quite understand what it is. There's definitely I don't know. I'm going to wait till next week. I think that might change.
I'm intrigued. Okay, Samantha, you had Serena, Raphael and Farry. Obviously, Raphael's still going to be in there, isn't he? What are your thoughts?
Do you know what it is? I think I'd like a man to win for a change.
Ooh.
I do. So
okay.
my 3 is Serena, Raphael, and who else? Serena, Raphael. Who I've got missing? There's somebody missing in my head, and probably Adam now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I think Adam. I did like Adam's his transformation. It reminded me. Do you remember Chinello from? I think she was in season 5. Who used to do all that lovely pleating, and I saw that, and it just sort of sprang that back into my mind. And Serena, I really liked Serena. I thought Serena should have won, and I loved Adina's dress as well. She didn't get it finished.
Yeah, the fabric was stunning on that.
It was just beautiful. It was just beautiful. So I'm putting Adina up there. Obviously, Catherine went out very quickly. How do we feel about Catherine going out? Well, how do we feel about it?
For me, do you know what? With Catherine, I never kind of notice her. She never really comes into my memory, and I don't know why that is. Is it because she's quiet and, you know, doesn't cause drama and just gets on with her thing? Do you understand what I mean? I never kind of remember her being there.
But they did say that she wasn't innovative enough. So that's probably why, because she's not done anything that kind of sticks in your mind. Alistair, what did you think, Alistair, and Esme, obviously?
Well, and Esme, I mean, we've talked about this at length. However, my feelings on it is the feel. So, for instance, I don't necessarily agree with the judge's choice, because we're not asking them to be designers. That needs to be made completely and utterly clear. They are being judged as amateur home sewers. That is what they're doing. Now, it should purely be judged on the execution of what they're doing. And I think the program is becoming a little bit clouded as to what they're actually looking for. Now, the transformation challenge, fair enough, that has design elements and what have you, and that's a sort of like, right, okay, if we throw them in at the deep end, what they're going to come up with. And there should be some little go-to things that everybody has, you know, that they've done if they're making for themselves or friends or what have you. I thought Catherine, for instance, she French seamed that lace. Now, I understood her concept, bless her, I really did. I wasn't a fan of the Russian doll fabric. I thought you could have done something really, what have you. I mean, you could have done something really, I mean, she had that beautiful sort of like floral corsage on there. Stick a bit of fabric.
She actually hid the fabric, didn't she? What was the point of that? You didn't even see it. It was overlaced.
Well, it was to do with... Well, it was to do with the fact that, you know, she had Frida had supposed alleged affair with a high-profile Russian at the time who was also a communist. But I just felt that I understood the concept of what she was wanting to do, but I think she could have brought that little token of Russia and be very, very subtle about it. It could have just have been a little bit of the Russian flag just poking out of that flower, or just one solitary flower in ribbon just made in that Russian flag. But the execution, I mean, French seam in that lace in the time.
I felt it was a little unfair when they said, you know, it is a sewing competition. They said it was beautifully sewn. All she did was make a mistake on the wrist. And actually, I think if she hadn't put that band on, but again, it was more beautifully sewn than, say, Andrews. Andrews with the raw edges. If it was down to sewing, I thought that he should go. But they did say, when they were talking about who was in danger, again, she was one of them. And Andrew was like, well, Andrew's safe. So there we go. A little bit of controversy to finish.
I think Andrew will be out next week.
Okay. There we go. That's an interesting one. We shall see how that goes. So very quickly, next week, episode 5 is Children's Week, which means we're going to have a fabulous transformation because they always do some kind of wild and wacky fancy dress. So I'm quite looking forward to that. We've also got a romper suit for the pattern challenge, and we've got like a Macintosh for the pattern for the made to measure. So I'm quite looking forward to that, and I think you guys probably are too. So thank you once more for joining us. Do remember there are a couple of competitions at the moment. One of them is you can actually be in line with winning a day's sewing with the gorgeous Patrick Grant. This is a competition that's been put together by Singer Sewing Machines, and basically all you need to do is purchase a sewing machine from Create and Craft between the 1st of April and the 31st of July to be in with a chance of winning a class with Patrick Grant. So make sure you have a look at that one, especially if you're in the market for a new sewing machine. But until next week, thank you guys for joining me once again, and we look forward to seeing you next week for episode 5. And I hope you at home are enjoying these sessions, and just keep up with the sewing, keep up the good work, and we'll see you all again here next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.